Hello traders, this is Blake Morrow with ForexAnalytix and you're listening to the week ahead video for May 13th, 2018. I hope you guys are having a great weekend. I've got a lot to talk about today, and actually I got a surprise for you today, so I really want to get into it. But before I do that, I've got to say, hey, you got to take a trial. Take a trial. It's $1 for 10 days. $1. $1. And once you do that, download the mobile app. Now, you will see initially the old platform. So once you click this button right here and you sign up and you go through the process of signing up, you're going to see this old platform. But the surprise I wanted to bring you today is that I wanted to show you and take you through really quick the new platform that is in beta, we're currently working on, and is almost finished and ready for general release. Now, you'll look at the platform and you go, well, that looks fairly similar. But the cool thing about ForexAnalytix is we put everything on one page now. So you got, your live stream here, your calendar of what's happening the week ahead, updates, alerts, Twitter, useful links, articles we think that would be beneficial to you to read, and then you've got all of your active patterns in play, closed patterns in play. And what's really cool is just on this page you can click right on any one of these indicator lights on the traffic light page, and it brings you the analysis that you can read and pull up the charts. Very useful and very dynamic, where you can move everything around and make it more visible. Everything's really modular, but it's all on one page, and we've worked really hard to bring this to you guys, and it's a key development. Now, I'm gonna close this really quick, and I'm just gonna leave it right here. I'm gonna talk about the week ahead and kind of what happened this last week. This last week we saw some volatility, and we think we saw the dollar peak. Now, if you're not a subscriber, we do also blog, and you can go to our homepage, and let's see, here's our homepage that you guys would get to, and go to our blog. Myself and Stelios, we did a blog post on the dollar, and you can see the title here: "The dollar squeeze may be over. Now what?" Read this when you get an opportunity. All right. And the point I want to make here is the euro may be trying to find some sort of bottom. And if you've been listening to these webinars for the last, it's the week ahead videos, excuse me, for the last 4 to 6 weeks, I have been looking for the dollar to bounce. Even though I'm not a long-term dollar bull, I did feel that the dollar was going to bounce, and that did happen. The euro is sold off, and you can see that that we've come off quite aggressively the last couple of weeks. And now the question is, well, what happens after this? Now that we've corrected, and the euro is looking like it wants to bounce back, and we could bounce back to the 120. Well, first of all, you have the 200-day moving average. It's right here at 120.20 roughly. Then you have a big support resistance zone that'll come in around 121, and we could reach all the way up to 122, 123, depending on economic data that comes out. But I suggest that you go read that blog post, because it also references precious metals, which interestingly enough haven't pulled back as much as you would expect with this dollar strength. Okay, and that's the tip of the iceberg, but I want you guys to go read that blog when you're done listening to this video, if you haven't done so already. Now, before I get into all the other pairs and what may happen and really what I'm specifically looking at, let's talk about next week, because next week is it's a pretty important week as far as data goes. We have retail sales out of the US. I believe that's on Wednesday. Let me double check that. That is on no, it's actually on Tuesday. So it's on Tuesday the 15th. We have retail sales, we have Empire State Manufacturing, but on Wednesday we have industrial production, capacity utilization. We've got some housing numbers, but those kind of key metrics, whether you're talking about retail sales or industrial production, it's really going to feed into GDP and tell us whether or not the U.S. is continuing to maintain this stronger growth outlook relative to the rest of the world, or will we succumb to some of the weakness that we've seen in other global economies. So that's why this data this week is going to be pretty important in the US. Now we have other things that are coming out this week, like on Monday we have the RBA meeting minutes. We have unemployment data, or excuse me, let me stop right there. We have inflation report hearings out of the UK and employment data on Tuesday, May 15th as well, early in the morning for those of us here in North American trade. So if you have any pound exposure, it's worth paying attention to, because the cable has sold off so aggressively recently, and whether or not we bounce back from this consolidation after hitting, this is basically 127% extension of this move, whether or not we bounce back and test the neckline here of this double top. I think that's going to have more to do with the economic data that's released on Tuesday. So pay attention on Tuesday in the UK. Eurozone GDP is also going to be released, I believe, on the, flash GDP is going to be released on Tuesday the 15th as well. And then we have employment data out of Australia on Wednesday. Well, it's actually Thursday. Thursday morning in Australia, but Wednesday for a lot of us here in North America. And then also the annual budget release out of New Zealand, which could be a market mover. Now, as far as economic data goes, if you're trading the Canadian CPI on Friday is going to be probably a market mover. And I will talk about the Canadian in a second, because I want to show it to you, because this week on the 17th, an agreement is expected in principle for NAFTA between the U.S., Canada, and Mexico. So with whether or not we reach an agreement in principle or not, or things get pushed back, or if there's still some sticking points, it could be a very volatile week for the Canadian currency. And I tell you what, I'm pretty sure I've mentioned to you last week ahead video last weekend, but I know I've talked about it all week this week during the free face webinars that we have every single trading day. If you don't listen into those, you should listen to them every morning, as I kind of give you my thoughts and ideas, and myself and the rest of the team give you our thoughts and our ideas for that trading day. I'm bullish the Canadian dollar if the NAFTA agreement can get done, and the reason why I say that is because the Bank of Canada has really been on hold, waiting to see what happens with NAFTA. So if we can get past the stumbling block, the Bank of Canada is probably going to become one of the more hawkish, if not the most hawkish central banks around from a monetary policy standpoint, which could really trigger some Canadian currency strength. And we're in this like triangle type of formation. We did a false breakout above the 129 level, this range here. Whoops, didn't mean to do that. Let me go back to the chart. Here we go. We did a false breakout over here. We've pulled back. It's kind of volatile because we sold off and maybe made a false breakdown, but we're still trading below 128. But whether or not we head down to 124, 125, or we head back up towards 131, 132, probably has more to do with NAFTA than anything. And then on top of that, you feed on to Canadian inflation data later on into the week. At the end of the week, it might actually accentuate these moves a little bit. So keep an eye on the Canadian. I'm still looking for Canadian strength, especially if we stay below this 128 level. I'm still looking for it to drop even further, especially once we get a NAFTA agreement. The Canadian currency should strengthen as a result. Now, one of the things that I'm watching most carefully, and I'm gonna actually I'm gonna take it off ForexAnalytix here for a second. I want to take you out to the charts that I drew, because the analysis that's on ForexAnalytix throughout the course of the week, I do most of the basic technical analysis, if not at nights, and as we close out the North American session. Um, uh, Steve and the rest of the team, do the weekend analysis. So I wanted to give you my specific views. If you've been watching all week, ForexAnalytix, you pretty much know them. But and I talked about this last week. Here is the dollar yen, and the dollar yen is still rejecting this underside of this triangle, and this was a 161% extension here, of this consolidation. You can see there's the high, low, 161% extension right there, and we got a double top, and we're probing this uptrend line. Now, if the dollar yen, excuse my crude drawings here, if the dollar yen breaks through 109, and especially through 108.80, 108.60, right here, 108, this is 108.80, 108.60, then you have this double top that's in play. And then that takes us down towards 107. Now, if you go back and read the blog about the dollar squeeze being over and what could happen with precious metals, this actually complements this view. So you got to keep an eye on the dollar yen here for this possible double top that's setting up. Stocks still look pretty strong. I mean, if you look at the S&P right now, they look pretty strong, and I've been expecting a move up towards this 2750 level roughly, in the S&P. But we're also in an ascending wedge, and even though we're bullish right now, if we end up reversing sometime next week, keep in mind the seasonal factors that are playing into this market as well. It is May, and there's that old adage, sell in May, go away. That doesn't mean that we sell off every May, and it doesn't mean we sell off May 1st. We could see some equity market struggles here over the next week or two. It could be starting on Monday. It could be 2 weeks from now, or maybe even 3 weeks from now as we get into June. But generally this time of year, you tend to see a pullback in equities. And if that happens, that's going to feed into that yen strength. So I'm paying really close attention to the yen. I'm already starting to buy yen, meaning I'm shorting dollar yen, and I really haven't added, and I'm not looking to add until we start getting a foothold below 109. But this is something that I'm personally trading, and I'm already starting to put my claws into, if you will. So just some food for thought as far as what I'm looking at in the FX market. Now, guys and gals, if you found this week ahead video beneficial, make sure you click the little thumbs up button on YouTube. And if you always want to hear, you want to get notified when our new videos every day are being uploaded. If you're not around to listening to them live, click that little bell notification on YouTube. That brings that alerts you when we have a new video being released. And make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. This way you don't miss any of our interviews or any of our analysis that we provide throughout the week as well. So guys and gals, my name is Blake Morrow. I'm with ForexAnalytix, and I hope you guys enjoy the new version of ForexAnalytix and what we have to offer and what we're building for you. And note that we're always trying to improve our products to make them better for you, the individual trader. So thanks so much for listening. I'll see you again next week for the week ahead video.